Welcome to the Tuesday topic. We've had a video in from James.
Hi boys, video here for you for Tuesday topic or just a general discussion video. To be honest with you, this is the day after the City loss, and it's hard to take. I know we played a very good team, and it's disappointing to go out of any cup. But I've just been seeing some stuff online. I thought it's perfect opportunity to send you this video over about the narrative about Yerry Mina. Now, personally, I thought Yerry Mina was very good against Manchester City, especially in the first half. He headed everything, he was leaders, he was trying to wind them up, he was doing everything he could to give us little advantages and to help us out. I thought he was stood out of the two centre-backs. I think he's had a brilliant season. I think except for the Leeds game, Tottenham game in the Cup, I thought he had a poor game. Other than that, I thought he's been brilliant all season. But yet again, we lose a game and the Yerry Mina haters come in. And I just don't understand it. What's it about? What's this narrative that Yerry Mina is accident prone, he's clumsy, he's not good on the ball, he's slow. For me, I think there's a certain guy called Mr. Ben Godfrey who we've all been raving about, myself included, but he was awful against Burnley and he was awful against Chelsea. No one was coming out criticising Ben Godfrey, not one person. But yet again, Yerry Mina, again, I thought he played well. As Everton lose, Yerry Mina gets blamed. Just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what it's over. I'm wondering if you can help me. And it's just really interesting to see just this Yerry Mina narrative that he's clumsy, he's rubbish, he's to blame for this. Personally, I think he's better than Michael Keane. That's my honest opinion. I would rather have him than Michael Keane. I think he's actually a little bit better at bringing the ball out than Keane is, although Keane's got better distribution. I always think he's probably a little bit quicker than Keane as well. But yeah, that's just my honest opinion. What do you think? Why has we got this narrative that Yerry Mina's not good enough? Cheers, lads.
Cheers, mate. Yerry Mina, he always seems to like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as saying split the audience or split the fan base. But he does seem to, I don't know, he just seems to get weird abuse. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah, for some reason people don't respect him as a defender, but people seem to have a go at him before other players. And there's the narrative that like he's always injured and that kind of thing that bounces around. But I think he's played 19 Premier League games this season. He's been sub for a couple and he has been injured for a few. So I think in general, that narrative doesn't really pan out. I remember people telling me last season he was injury prone and yet he played one game less than Michael Keane, I think, overall, who people were saying is always fit. So I don't know like where that's come from. But probably from his first season when he did have injury problems in his first season. But I think in general, I think he's done well for Everton. Certainly after that opening season, I think he's been quite good.
Yeah.
Always a threat in the penalty area. Good defensively, good offensively. And I think he's always done well for Everton.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a player who we signed, who had an injury when we signed, and I think that kind of thing has just hung around his neck for the whole time he's been here. Sometimes you get that, don't you? I think Andy's big on he's always talking about the bias, the recency bias and all this kind of thing. And I think that has hung around his neck a little bit. People perceive that he's injured all the time, and I think that goes against them. We are going to do like a bigger video on this, of the differences between the centre backs and who is our best centre backs or best centre back partnerships. But I see Mina and Ben Godfrey as a very promising partnership, because I think they balance out. Because I think that's something we've always spoke about, is having a partnership which is, it has great assets, the stopper and someone who's got the pace and the agility. And I think they've got that between them. Even though Keane and Mina have been the best partnership over the last maybe couple of years, they've been the go-to partnership, especially in the low block. But I think what we've seen, certainly in the last year, I think under Carlo Ancelotti, is Mina's ability to read the game and read the danger and see it before it comes. And I think he's become I think he's become a big asset to us. I think not only on the pitch, but I think we're starting to see like the commercial use of him as well in South America and obviously in Colombia and having the James Rodriguez attachment. Of course, he comes off as the second best in that, but he has got a big presence down in South America and in Colombia. You know, you see him used, and just this week there's a launch of the new Colombia kit. James Rodriguez is obviously the big feature in it, but Yerry Mina's massive in it as well, and that can't be underestimated, I think. And I know people don't want to necessarily hear that when it comes to football, but that's a big thing for a football club as well.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, is that you want the attractive opportunities in your team, you know, for commercial reasons. Of course you do. First and foremost, you want them to perform on the pitch. There's no question about that. That comes before everything. But if they're also, you know, attractive commercially as well, then it's a win-win, isn't it? So, yeah, I think, listen, I've always thought he's done well for Everton, like you say, after the first season. I think him and Michael Keane, for me, as a partnership, and we will do it in a bigger video, but have been in the past Everton's best partnership, factually, like numbers, statistically wise. Whether that is how Everton want to play and moving forward, whether that's the right partnership, is open for debate, depending on what you've got. You know, Everton might say, well, we want 2 flying fullbacks, so we want our centre-backs to sit back a little bit so we're not caught, because if everyone pushes up, there's gaps in behind, and if our fullbacks are gone, you know, maybe you could do it that way. But then if you do want to play higher up the pitch, you would want a Ben Godfrey in there who's got the recovery pace. So it depends, I guess, what you're looking for. But when you think of like defensive partnership, you're always looking for a stopper, and you're always looking for someone with the pace who's alongside them, and he buys into that. So for me, I guess when everybody's fit, it might come to a toss-up between him and Michael Keane to play alongside, I guess, Godfrey or Mason Holgate. Godfrey seems to be ahead of Holgate now. You know, the manager's played him most games. I think he's started something like 20 Premier League games or 19 Premier League games and come on as sub in one. And since he's got in the team, I think the only game he's missed was Newcastle, and he was on the bench, which was, and Everton lost the game actually at home. So, he didn't play hard at the time against Newcastle, actually. He was injured the other time, which is mad. So, for Yerry Mina, he's in a, for me, where I look at it, he's in a straight fight with Michael Keane nearly for that place. And only at the weekend, he was preferred to Michael Keane.
James mentioned there in the video, he's talking about the ability on the ball as well. We talk about Michael Keane and how he can come out with the ball and how he's got a good use of passing. But James is saying that he thinks Yerry Means is better. I don't know if it's better, and again, maybe when we do the numbers and we compare them all, we'll go through that. But I certainly don't think, you know, Yerry Mina, again, it's this idea of when the ball at Yerry Mina's feet, he's somehow like a Bambi on ice, but he isn't, is he? It's like, again, it's a visualisation of something that you think's going to happen, but generally doesn't happen. He's normally very comfortable on the ball. He makes good angles for passing. And you know, maybe he's not the type of person who's always hitting, you know, 50-yard passes to feet in like that. But, you know, he's very comfortable on the ball, and the way Everton want to play out at the back, which we've seen, we know from day one Carlo Ancelotti's come in and he wants to play out at the back. You know, I know a lot of people, it worries a lot of people, but this is the way football teams are doing things now. You know, they take the goal kicks within the box, and then they build up from the back, they draw the opposition in, and they want to play through the press. And I don't see any problems with him doing that either. And you know, so for me, I mean, that's something, again, that can't be, I think sometimes is used against them, but isn't an actual real thing.
No, I think just off the top of my head, without going through everything, I think his passing accuracy is 90%. I think it's up there. I think it's better than Ben Godfrey's, and I think it's either comparable with Michael Keane's or it's actually better than Michael Keane's. Now, that might be because he doesn't hit 50-yard balls, and a lot of his passes are short. But I think he's certainly better on the ball than what people give him credit for. I don't think there's any question about that. And people do have that thing. I think because he's big, he's just big. Yeah. It's not like he's just tall. He's just big. You know, he's a huge centre-back. And so therefore, sometimes he looks a little bit clumsy or cumbersome, but I don't think he is.
I like how much of a character he is as well. I think we've seen against the Manchester City game. There was moments where he's having a go with players. You know, he doesn't mind having a go with players. He doesn't mind creating something in the game, trying to put them off, having a little go with them. You know, and I think that's what the best centre backs have always done, is create something that puts the centre forward off in some way. You know, we'll get into a little tussle with them. We'll get into a little fight with them. And I think you see that with him. I don't know if Michael Keane's got that character where he does that. I don't think he really has. I think Michael Keane likes to just get through the game, do his business, and that's it. Whereas you could see that with Mina. I don't know whether that gives him the edge, but I think personality-wise, he's definitely got something. And I think going forward, you've got to, the manager will want to be a little bit more proactive. Because I look at Mina as well, and I'll think back at mistakes he makes. And I think back to the Newcastle game, and I think back to Arsenal last season, where Newcastle away and Arsenal last season, where he gets caught for pace high up the pitch, and the other person next to him's Michael Keane.
Yeah.
So Michael Keane's not going to have the recovery place either, and that's where I think you need a Godfrey going forward. It's why you need pace at the back. You need, if your centre back gets caught high, or you're going to play high up the pitch, because that's what you want to do. You don't want to have half your team in your own half, and your midfield are going to be, I mean, it's going to make it impossible for them. You want that space in behind, but if the ball does go over the top, you've got someone like Godfrey to be the one who comes round and, you know, and makes sweeps. But I think that's why they, for me, could be a really good partnership, and that's just something which is natural. You're not going to have maybe two centre-backs who are lightning. If you do, you're in a very fortunate position. But I think that's where, yes, you could go, well, that's one of his big problems, but that's why you create those partnerships to make sure if he gets done, he doesn't have to worry as much, because he knows he's going to have that player sweeping in behind them.
Well, that's what the partnerships are there for, aren't they? You want to complement the other player who you're playing with, and Everton had it. The great Everton side in the 80s had it with Kevin Ratcliffe. He was the recovery pace, you know, whether it was Derek Mountfield or it was Dave Watson. You had Ratcliffe coming down the back to recover, and Everton have got that with Godfrey. And you're right, I mean, you know, up at Newcastle, he got too tight to Ryan Fraser and was spun and didn't. I mean, he gets back, and then unfortunately it deflects off him, and it ends up in the neck as Wilson tucks it in. And I remember at Southampton, he got himself in the wrong position the week before. He'd made a wrong decision, which ended up in the back of our neck, just the way he was defending. He was a little bit lackadaisy. But they've all, I can point to all of our centre-backs of making mistakes. Unfortunately, for that area of the pitch, a little bit like the goalkeeper, if you make a mistake, it can end in a goal. And people are quick to jump on him. And I don't think there's many times when you've been able to go, he was to blame for that. Yeah. You know, remember this first season, Millwall away, he didn't deal with a couple of things when he probably should have done. But he'd just come back into the team after being out injured and stuff, so he struggled for that first season. But
I think people forget as well, when we signed him from Barcelona, he'd only played a handful of games for Barcelona, and he'd come from South America, so he hadn't really adjusted to playing in Spain. He hadn't really adjusted to playing at Barcelona, and then the next minute he's out the door and he's playing for us. He'd only been at Barcelona 6 months, hasn't he? So he's gone to Spain, and I mean that's probably more of a natural route because of Spanish speaking and everything. And then he comes to us and he comes injured, and then he's into the season and he's got to adjust, and he's not maybe first choice and everything else, and yeah, he's had little moments of being out injured. I think that's natural for any player. It's natural for players, I think, who are that kind of size as well, especially like back injuries and stuff like that. But I suppose now the next thing is, now we know that he's coming to the end of the season, has 2 years left on his contract, and that will be a time when the club will have to make that decision. I think we'll know at the end of the season how important he is, you know, because the club will either have to offer him a new 2-year deal, or know that this summer will be the last time. He's depreciating all the time, isn't he? You know, you go into that
27 in September, isn't he?
Yeah.
So they do 2 years left. you're right, there is got to be a decision. Otherwise, you're gambling then, aren't you? You're gambling that, is he going to want to stay? I'm not saying he wouldn't want to stay, but that's what you're gambling on, so therefore you're hoping contract negotiations are smooth. Or you're thinking, you're right, the value's dropping and dropping. So there is a big decision to make on him, but he's been really good. And like I say, for me, I don't have any issues with him. He's in the team. I don't think, oh no. You know, and I think Michael Keane's done really well over the last 12 months. He really, about this time last year, when we went into lockdown, he come back from lockdown and was really good after lockdown. I think Yerry Mina's been equally as good. And so, you know, I've got no issues with him. I think he's, like I say, a threat in both penalty areas. I think he defends properly. I think he's more likely than Keane to throw his face in the way of a shot. Michael Keane's probably, you know, is good at better at other stuff. So there is, but you get that with centre-backs. But I think you're right. I think maybe moving forward, the way to go is to have a combination of the both, rather than, I know we can say, well, statistically, they're the best partnership or whatever, the two stoppers. But then that'll play into the fact that we've also had 4 centre-backs, so they look better sometimes as well. So,
yeah, and it also comes into the fact that we play the low block, and that can't be a way we want it. And can't be a way the manager wants to go forward, because it stops you. You know, it stops you having, you know, the right back. You want a right back who's going to fly forward. You want him to be, you know, an outlet, an attacking outlet. That can't be a way forward, because all that means is that in games, we're not really taking the game to anyone. We're sitting back. We're asking the teams to attack us, and then we're going to try and break on the counter attack and stuff. And I don't see that being the way forward for Everton to win anything. I think you've got to have you've got to be a little bit more progressive. And I just think that, listen, Ben Godfrey he's a natural fit for us. You can see that it really is a natural fit for Everton Football Club. Fans really love him, and when they get in the ground, you'll see that. And I think it's you can see that Ancelotti's really warm to Ben Godfrey. He's a player who can almost build the team, obviously not around, but off. Do you know what I mean? Moving forward, being one of those players where you go, well, you're in there, and we move everything forward. And if you've got that player, you've got the pace. So Mina next to him, I think, just makes sense. But don't get me wrong, could easily be going to the Palace game, and it could easily be Keane because the manager's got those options. But I don't get any kind of hate for Yerry Mina, because I think he's a threat when we're attacking or set pieces. We've seen that. He put the delivery in, he'll always create an opportunity.
He scored at the weekend.
Or create murder, one or the other. He defends in the box really well. The way we defend set pieces, he's an integral part of that as well. He's not someone. Tell you what, he's not as well. I don't think he's the kind of player who he doesn't give a lot of. See, someone like that kind of size, I'd think he would give loads of fouls away by climbing all over people. But he doesn't do that either. He tries to nick in first and get using his size, trying to get round rather than over, because he'll know going over. You especially coming from playing in South America, you have to breathe on people over there, and it's the rolling actually. So I like Yerry Mina, and I think. Obviously, as we've said, we'll come up to the summer and see what's what with him and how much the club like him as well.
Definitely, yeah. I think, like you say, I totally agree with everything you just said there. He's doing well. He's an important part of it, and it's on the club now. The next decision is the club's, whether they feel like it's new deal time, extension, however that looks, or whether they feel like he's someone they can trade in for. Get 20 million or 25 million or whatever, but I'd be sorry to start to see him go, because I think he's been really good, and I think what'll be interesting to see if they just leave Ben Godfrey where he is, and if they leave Ben Godfrey where he is, then he becomes, like you just said, so the left back always plays when he's fit, Godfrey always plays when he's fit, centre back, and then you'll see them work through the team like that, and if that's the case, then we'll know then that Mean is in a straight battle with Michael Keane, won't we?
Yeah, and what we've seen this season is we've used them all.
They've all had to play, yeah.
They've all had a lot of games.
And imagine if we were in Europe as well,
Yeah,
they'd have
yeah.
even more, so.
Exactly, yeah.
Be interesting.
There you go. Thanks for the video, James. Thanks for sending it in, mate. If you want to get your videos in, make sure to just give us a little message. If you don't know how, you can send them via WhatsApp, you can send them via WeTransfer, whichever way you want to do it, just let us know and we'll use them. I think we've got a couple more in the bank this week that we need to get out as well. So big thanks for James and thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.